Types of biopesticides, exploring different alternatives. Title: Types of biopesticides, exploring different alternatives. Introduction. As the demand for sustainable and environmentally friendly agricultural practices continues to rise, the use of biopesticides has gained significant attention. Biopesticides are derived from natural materials and biological agents for pest management, offering an effective alternative to chemical pesticides. In this article, we will explore various types of biopesticides that are being increasing. GLI used in modern agriculture. 1. Microbial biopesticides. Microbial biopesticides harness the power of microorganisms to control pests. They are composed of bacteria, fungi, viruses, or protozoa that have specific pest-killing properties. Common types of microbial biopesticides include A. Bacterial biopesticides. Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, is one of the most commonly used bacterial biopesticides. It produces proteins that are toxic to certain insects, making it effective against pests such as caterpillars, mosquitoes, and beetles. B. Fungal biopesticides. Fungi such as Beauveria bassiana and Metrizium anisopliae are used as biopesticides to control various insect pests. These fungi infect the target pests and cause disease, effectively reducing their population. C. Viral biopesticides. Viruses that specifically attack insect pests are used as biopesticides. For example, the nucleopolyhedrovirus, NPV, is used to control the diamondback moth, an agricultural pest that damages cruciferous crops. 2. Plant-incorporated protectants, PIPs. Plant-incorporated protectants, PIPs, refer to genetically modified crops that produce their own insecticidal proteins. These proteins are derived from naturally occurring microbial biopesticides, SU. CH is the Bt toxin. The most prominent example of PIPs is Bt crops, which have been genetically engineered to express insecticidal proteins. Bt cotton and Bt corn are widely cultivated to combat pests like bollworms and corn borers, respectively. 3. Biochemical pesticides. Biochemical pesticides are naturally occurring substances that control pests through non-toxic mechanisms. Unlike microbial biopesticides, they do not rely on live organisms. Some common examples of biochemical pesticides include A. Pheromones. Pheromones are chemical substances released by insects to communicate with each other. Synthetic versions of these pheromones can be used as traps or repellents to disrupt the mating patterns or feeding behavior of targeted pests. B. Plant extracts. Certain plant extracts possess insecticidal properties. Examples include neem oil, derived from the neem tree, and pyrethrum, derived from the chrysanthemum flower. These plant extracts act by disrupting the pest's nervous systems or causing physiological changes that render them vulnerable. 4. Semiochemicals. Semiochemicals are chemicals that insects produce as communication signals. They can be used to manipulate pest behavior and manage their populations effectively. The two main categories of semiochemicals used as biopesticides are A. Aggregation pheromones. These pheromones attract insects to a specific area, making it easier to monitor and control their populations. Synthetic aggregations pheromones are used in traps to lure insects like fruit flies and beetles, preventing them from causing damage to crops. B. Alarm pheromones. Alarm pheromones are released by insects when they detect danger. These pheromones can be used to trigger warning signals in other insects, causing them to disperse or avoid the area. Alarm pheromones have been successfully used to protect crops from pests like aphids and spider mites. The types of biopesticides discussed in this article showcase the diverse range of alternatives available for pest management in agriculture. Microbial biopesticides, such as bacterial, fungal, and V. Aerial biopesticides, utilize the power of microorganisms to control pests. Plant-incorporated protectants, PIPs, on the other hand, involve genetically modified crops that produce their own insecticide. DAL proteins derived from naturally occurring microbial biopesticides. Biochemical pesticides, unlike microbial biopesticides, do not rely on live organisms. They utilize naturally occurring substances to control pests through non-toxic mechanisms. Pheromones, which are chemical substances released by insects for communication purposes, can be employed as traps or repellents to disrupt the mating patterns or feeding behavior of targeted pests. Plant extracts, such as neem oil and pyrethrum, act by disrupting the pest's nervous systems or causing physiological changes that render them vulnerable. Semiochemicals, the chemicals insects produce as communication signals, provide another effective approach for managing pest populations. Aggregation pheromones attract insects to a specific area, making it easier to monitor and control their populations. Synthetic aggregation pheromones are used in traps to lure insects like fruit flies and beetles, preventing them from causing damage to crops. Alarm pheromones, on the other hand, trigger warning signals in other insects when danger is detected, causing them to disperse or avoid the area. These alarm pheromones have successfully protected crops from pests like aphids and spider mites. Biopesticides have emerged as a promising alternative to chemical pesticides in modern agriculture. With the increasing demand for sustainable farming practices, these natural materials and biological agents have gained significant attention for their effective pest management capabilities. In this article, we will explore different types of biopesticides that are being used in agriculture today. One of the most common types of biopesticides is microbial biopesticides. These harness the power of microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, viruses, and protozoa to control pests. Bacterial biopesticides, like Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, produce proteins that are toxic to specific insects. BT is effective against pests like caterpillars, mosquitoes, and beetles. Fungal biopesticides, such as B. Ovaria bassiana and Metrizium anisopleae, infect insects and cause diseases, reducing their population. Viral biopesticides, like the nucleopolyhedrovirus, NPV, specifically target insect pests. Like the diamondback moth, which damages cruciferous crops. Another type of biopesticide is plant-incorporated protectants, PIPs. These are genetically modified crops that produce their own insecticidal proteins derived from microbial biopesticides. BT crops are a notable example of PIPs. Genetically engineered to express insecticidal proteins, BT cotton and BT corn are widely cultivated to combat pests like bollworms and corn borers. Biochemical pesticides are naturally occurring substances that control pests through non-toxic mechanisms. Unlike microbial biopesticides, they don't rely on live organisms. Pheromones are one example. Of biochemical pesticides. These chemical substances are released by insects to communicate with each other. Synthetic versions of pheromones can be used as traps or repellents to disrupt the mating patterns or feeding behavior of targeted pests. Plant extracts, such as neem oil and pyrethrum, also possess insecticidal properties. They act by disrupting the nervous systems of pests or causing physiological changes that make them vulnerable. Semiochemicals are another category of biopesticides. These chemicals are produced by insects as communication signals and can be used to manipulate pest behavior effectively. Aggregation pheromones attract insects to a specific area, making it easier to monitor and control their populations. Synthetic aggregation pheromones are used in traps to lure fruit flies and beetles, preventing crop dama. GE. Alarm pheromones, on the other hand, trigger warning signals in insects, causing them to disperse or avoid the area. These alarm pheromones have been successful in protecting crops from pest lick. Aphids and spider mites.